an extraordinary trainer, now an outstanding attorney, our good friend, Khiree. Please come on up.
First things first, General Dean, I want to thank you. General Price, I want to thank you for inviting me to come back. So I'm supposed to spend most of this time talking about my story and telling you about myself and connecting it to the problems that we're facing in our communities. And I promise I'm going to do some of that. But the reality is, I feel like there are just so many other things that are important for us to talk about. So I don't want to spend the bulk of my time doing that. What I want to do is, I want to take a few minutes up front, list the few things that I do think are important about me, and then I'm hoping we can move on. Cool? Sounds good. All right. Number one, I am black. Big surprise there, right? Number two, I was born and raised in a place that some might call the hood, some might call the ghetto. It's a place that I love dearly, and it's a place that I've returned to time and time again, and a place that I will keep working to transform. Number three, I have devoted my life and a lot of my time to cherishing and protecting and enjoying strawberry cheesecake. That wasn't a joke, by the way. It's delicious. Number four, I have spent a lot of my time, probably almost all of it, working to transform and protect and make sure that we are treating fairly and proportionately communities like the one I come from, and anywhere where people are being crushed by addiction and thank you, and oppression and economic unfairness and any kind of pain that you can think of. That's what my life has been about. And last but not least, well, I'll let you guys know that one when I figure it out. So now that that's out the way, let's move on. I've been watching a lot of Netflix comedy specials lately, and I learned, or I noticed, that they all have like really cool names. I promise this is not a comedy special, but I wanted to give it a name. And it's gonna be called 20-something and Tired. It's almost like 15 and Pregnant, except I'm not 15. Also not pregnant, but you never know. But I wanted to call it that because I feel like when I'm on social networks and I'm talking to my friends, I feel like everyone in my age group is tired. And I don't want you guys to misunderstand me. I don't mean like we feel exhausted, we feel tired. I mean like we are tired, like it's who we've become. Thank you. It's who we've become at like a subatomic, like molecular level. It's like you go to a job interview and they say, so tell me a little bit about yourself. It's like, well, I'm tired, so there's that. Or you meet a new friend, it's like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm tired. Oh, me too. Cool, let's take a nap or something. We're tired. And it feels like we age in like dog or president years. So actually, I'm not 27. I'm 27 times 7. I'm 4 million years old. I'm a lawyer. I'm not a mathematician. But I imagine it's not just us. I imagine we're not the only ones. Raise your hand if you feel like you have become tired too, and it's okay to admit it. I think it has something to do with everything we have to deal with. Nowadays, there's so much to digest. There's constantly a problem to figure out how we feel about or figure out our stance on, to try to calculate and figure out where we stand. Am I pro this? Am I anti that? Am I enraged? Am I outraged? What's the difference? And it's exhausting. But I think some of it has to do with the fact that we spend a large amount of time, I think, focusing on the wrong things. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So if you'll indulge me for a moment, I want to tell you guys a quick story about a time when I made a voyage to a sacred sanctuary known as Walmart. It was on Black Friday, which needs a new name, by the way, but it's another fight for another day. But I was there because I had been working hard and I wanted a new TV, right? So I went to Walmart and I saw the one. There was this brand new, cutting edge, OLED, like 85-inch, beautiful TV. And it was the last one. And I had it in my sights. So I'm making my way to, somebody said, oh God. So I'm making my way toward the TV, right? But the problem is, off to my left, I noticed this sweet, sweet old lady. She had to be, I don't know, 90, 95, give or take a decade. And she had one of those cutting edge, like infomercial canes. It was like made out of titanium and it was collapsible. It had the suction cups at the bottom. And she was making her way toward the TV too. And I could tell she wanted it. And I could tell she probably deserved it. The other problem was, to her left, I noticed another guy. And he was middle-aged, good shape. What I couldn't tell was whether or not he saw the woman and could tell that she wanted it and probably deserved the TV too. So I had to come up with a plan to make sure that the right thing happened here. So I figured out a way to cut them both off so that I would get to the TV first and bring it home for myself because I deserve a TV too. I've been working hard. She don't even need no TV. But here's the plot twist. So I get my hands on the TV. And that's the last thing I remember. I'm not saying I was assaulted, but I will say I left Walmart with a concussion, and this 173-year-old woman left carrying in her arms an 85-inch TV. That's a true story. I didn't make that up. I promise I didn't. But here's the thing. That old woman gave me more that day than just short-term memory loss. When that titanium collided with my skull, I had an epiphany. I realized, Khiree, you might be focusing on the wrong things, right? When I got that TV in my sights, all I could think about was me. All I could think about was what I wanted, my needs. I had tunnel vision. I didn't think about the fact that maybe this woman deserved the TV 1,000,000 times more than I did. Maybe she had done things throughout her life that I couldn't imagine. Maybe she had paved the way for me in so many ways that I didn't really need a TV. Even more, I didn't even think about the fact that I already have 2 flat screen TVs, so I didn't really need this one. I was focusing on the wrong things. And then it dawned on me that a lot of how we operate, the human paradigm, has the same issue. We're focusing on the wrong things. And we sometimes forget to think about more than just ourselves, right? A zero-sum game is when only one person can win, right? It's when, in order for me to get what I want, or what I need, or what I'm playing for, you can't have it, right? It's not a win-win, it's an I win. And that's sort of what I want to get into today. Why we think about things that way, why we approach things that way, and what we can do about it. So let's talk about it. I think the reason we think this way probably started millions of years ago. There probably was a time when it made sense, right? When we were beasts, when things were literally eat or be eaten, steal or be stolen from, take from, was the logical way to approach life. I need warmth, so I take fur from the bear. I need shelter, I take tree from the forest. I need space, I take land from another person. There was probably a time when this made sense, and our instincts developed to accommodate that need for survival. And through generations, we got really good at it, and we became the dominant species on this planet. But I wonder, what if evolution is a moving target? What if the thing that made sense millions of years ago just doesn't make sense anymore? Remember, it's survival of the best fit for the environment, not survival of the most fit, the strongest, or deadliest. So it changes. I argue that there must have been a tipping point when our equation no longer applied. I imagine it was probably somewhere around the time when we became existential beings, when we became conscious of ourselves, when we developed the ability to question our own instinct. I hate to be this guy, but I'm fighting off a cough, and I wonder if I can get some water. Okay. Oh, you are a godsend. Round of applause, please. Thank you so much. Delicioso. So I argue that that tipping point was probably right after we became conscious, right? At that point, we became free from the chains of instinct, and we inherited the power to decide. I think of it as a spectrum. All the way in the beginning, there's pure instinct, where our understanding of survival is protect individual self. And I imagine that as we evolve, we have to move in a direction that moves toward consciousness, where that understanding of survival moves outward, goes from individual self to offspring to each other. And somewhere in the middle, I think there's a place of shared consciousness, where the definition is protect all. It's not that my understanding of survival has changed, it's that my understanding of self has changed. I'm becoming more aware of the fact that you are me and I am you, that we are literally one. And then all the way on the other end of the spectrum, my idea of our evolutionary epitome is this mystical place, probably 1 million or 1 billion years from now, where we have fully integrated instinct and consciousness, where our idea of protect all includes everything in existence. Given that we're all made up of the same stuff, it's just a time when we realize that. But not just that. We get so good at doing it that it becomes instinctual. It's not something we have to think about. I'm talking about a place of instinctual harmony. That's the place I call Utopia. That's the place that I think, if we don't go extinct, that we have no choice but to make it to. So let's think about where we are now, what it means for the problems we face, and what we can do to move forward. So we've gotten to a place on the spectrum where now, in terms of our own existence, there are really only 2 threats to us. There's nature, and when I say nature, I don't mean animals, I mean the planet. There's nature, and there's us. The only 2 things that pose a threat of erasing our existence. So we haven't really reached or mastered shared consciousness yet, to the point where we know exactly what to do to protect all. But I think we're getting to a point where we recognize that that's the goal, right? Think about every way that we develop. The telephone, the cell phone, social media, Facebook. All examples of us evolving shared consciousness, such that we don't think individually anymore. More and more, we're starting to think and feel and believe together. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, mastery of this place or this time can be a messy process. I know a lot of you have heard of storming, right? we're probably at the place in history where we're doing a little bit of storming, right? I don't know if any of you have ever been on like a mass conference call or know what that's like. If you have, then you get it. But these things take time. If we do not go extinct, though, we have no choice but to evolve. And we can't beat nature, right? And I don't think we want to. But here's how we beat the other threat. Here are what I call my keys to utopia. And I want to tell you something about each one of these keys. First of all, they're things you already know. They're really obvious and they're cliches, so don't point that out. Second of all, they are all internal and external. They have to do with how we relate to and treat each other, and they have to do with how we relate to and treat ourselves. So here they are. Love, empathy, compassion, courage, and altruism. Love. I'm not talking about the fuzzy feeling we get when we get attached to people and things. I'm not talking about pink stuffed animals and cotton candy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the reason all of that stuff exists and the reason we're working on interpreting that feeling. I'm talking about a functional kind of love that lets us know that for some reason we care about each other. For some reason we recognize that on some level we are the same. Really on every level, but whatever. I'm talking about a functional kind of love that drives us in a direction to realize how important we are to one another, even when we might be strangers. That's what I mean by love. When I say empathy, that key is about recognizing that I am you and you are me. That your feelings have value as a human being, and so do mine. It's being able to look at each other and understand that no matter what it is that you're feeling, you're a human being. So I must not be far off from being able to feel that thing too, depending on what my experiences have been. That's what the key of empathy is about. Compassion. Very straightforward. Although it's a hard one for a lot of us to wrap our heads around. I particularly see it in lawyers a lot. It's a recognition of the fact that I understand you're not going to always be right. But that's okay, because neither am I. That's what compassion is about, and we're going to need it. Courage. Here's a big one. Courage is about recognizing that the road to utopia is not utopian. It's about accepting that to travel in the direction that we need to go in, it's not going to always be all holding hands and kumbaya and fuzzy feelings. There are things we are going to have to fight. Sometimes the fight's going to be within your heart. Sometimes the fight's going to be in the streets with picket signs. Sometimes the fight's going to be at Capitol Hill or in the boardroom. But there will be struggles. And courage is recognizing that and being okay with it, taking it on. The last one, this is a very important one, is altruism. Altruism, in this context, is about the ultimate selflessness. It's about getting it understood that we won't make it to utopia. Our grandchildren won't make it millions of years from now to utopia. Their grandchildren won't be there. But we still have to do the work. Because we may not be able to make it to millions of years from now, but we can make progress right now. Thank you. Altruism is about recognizing that in order to get to a world where we don't have 2.3 million people incarcerated, where we don't have 21 million people per year suffering from addiction, where we don't have 1,000 people per year killed by police officers. In order to get to that kind of world, a world where we understand that treatment and support, not condemnation and imprisonment, is the answer. A world where we understand and embrace what the data already shows us, which is that, come on now. A world where we understand what the data already shows us, which is that mass incarceration does not work. We need to try something different. A world where we understand that community policing and genuine relationship building is the path. To get to that kind of world is going to take altruism and courage. And we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait 10 million years. We don't have to wait 100 million years. I've looked that far into the future, and there are two possible outcomes. Sure, there's utopia, but I've also seen darkness and emptiness and absence if we don't get our act together, if we don't figure some things out, if we don't rethink the equation, right? Because we have to recognize that it's not about religion, it's not about class, it's not about skin color, it's not about what job you have, it's not about how much money you make, it's not about any of these surface level things, any of these constructs that we've created. And it's damn sure not about who gets the TV on Black Friday. It's about how we treat each other. It's about how we treat ourselves. I'm going to say that again. It's about how we treat each other. It's about how we treat ourselves. You want a solid example of how this zero-sum game hurts us and how it will eventually lead to our demise? Think about the fact that there is no pain like people pain. There is no pain like when someone else, another human, hurts you. Whether it's their fault or your fault, there's no pain like it. I spent a significant period of my life sleeping in the backseat of my car with nothing to my name, grades were in the toilet, had no outlook for my future. And I thought that was pain. But just last year, I got my heart broken. And I had to pull myself from the brink of giving up. There is no pain like people pain. It's not about things, it's about people. It's about how we treat each other. It's about how we treat ourselves. It's about cultural exchange, not appropriation. It's about substance abuse treatment, not imprisonment. It's about community policing, not police brutality. Food justice, not food deserts. It's about economic justice, not poverty. Love, not hate. Give, not take. For a very long time, we've been following the old equation. Take from. Take from. I need something, so I need to figure out where I have to take it from or who I have to take it from so that I can have it. That will not continue to work. You don't have to believe me. You will start to see. It will not work. And it's about avoiding that kind of a future. It's about avoiding emptiness and absence, avoiding nuclear warfare. Because here's the thing, and I promise I'm going to finish up. If we refuse to send the old way to extinction, if we refuse to recognize that love is an evolutionary imperative, if we refuse to stop focusing on the wrong things, I promise you, we will go the way of the dinosaurs. And that's it. I want to share one more thing with you guys before I go. One of the reasons why I didn't really want to stand up here and spend a lot of time talking about myself is because I'm still meeting myself, right? I meet myself every day. And sometimes I'm interesting, and sometimes I'm disappointing, sometimes I'm brilliant, and sometimes I'm inadequate. I meet myself every day, and I learn something new every day. But the last thing I want to share with you is something that I learn every single time that I meet me. And if I see you guys again in the future, not today, but sometime in the future, I want you to pull me aside, and I want you to ask me about this so we can talk about it, because I imagine my understanding of it will have evolved by then. So if you guys are ready, here it goes. I know that we are nothing unless we are everything. Thank you, guys.